My brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month, a savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance.
For your free quote, go to SelectQuote.com. SelectQuote.com. That's SelectQuote.com.
SelectQuote. We shop. You save. Full details on example policies at SelectQuote.com/commercials.
No breaks. No breaks. No fear. No fear.
Welcome to No Breaks, No Fear. I'm Ian Brannan, and coming up on this week's episode, we speak with Justin Sedgmen, back in the UK and looking forward to the year of the Tiger.
Yeah, I've actually signed in Denmark as well for the Holsted Tigers. Favourite AFL team is Richmond Tigers, so yeah, it is. It's pretty nice to have that kind of connection. It's a little bit unique.
We'll also hear from King's Lynn boss Peter Schroeck, who can't wait to see Lewis Bridger back in the sport.
When you're natural like these, like he is, you know, there is a few riders which are pure natural riders, and he's one of them. I haven't got much doubt that he's going to find his feet pretty quick.
Also joining me is Manchester journalist and Belle Vue Aces programme contributor Lee Wild. And we'll take a look at the Aces prospects this year of a team widely fancied to be up there come the reckoning. And this week sees the official start of the Speedway season. Saturday, May 1st, Berwick Bullets take on Armadale Devils in the behind closed doors curtain raiser. And we'll speak to Berwick co-promoter Gary Flint. All on the way on No Breaks, No Fear.
No breaks. No fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
So lots to come. Let's have a quick update on some of the stories from the world of Speedway that have been making the headlines over the past 7 days. Last week, we told you how Birmingham had been handed a potentially crippling financial blow with the new season just around the corner. Approximately £20,000 worth of damage was caused as vandals burnt and stole items of essential track equipment after breaking into the Speedway side of Perry Barr Stadium. Now, former Brummies owner Tony Mole heard about this and suggested current bosses set up a GoFundMe page, which he opened himself with a £500 donation. 1 week later, or more or less, half their target has been raised, over £7,000 currently in the pot at the time of recording this. Team manager and co-promoter Lawrence Rogers has asked us to pass on this message to supporters across the UK who have donated so far.
Well, the response to the Birmingham Brummies GoFundMe has been absolutely amazing. A big thank you to everybody who's contributed. We've got up to Monday over £7,000, which is half the target, and every penny counts. So big thank you to everybody. Keep it coming. Back to Brummies, and go far, GoFundMe. Thank you.
And we'll be hearing more from Birmingham ahead of the new championship season in one of our future episodes, so stick around for that. Birmingham firmly the focus in coming weeks. Other stories from the world of British Speedway making the headlines. Eastbourne have announced the appointment of Lee Kilby as a co-promoter alongside Trevor Gear. Kilby joined the Eagles in the winter to take on a commercial role when the Premiership club Swindon elected to sit out the 2021 season. And his main focus at Arlington is going to be on business and administration. James Sargent's going to be back in the Championship after agreeing a deal to join Redcar. Sargent lost his place with Edinburgh earlier this winter, but moves to the Media Prima Arena as a replacement for Danish rider Casper Andersen, with the Bears now having one remaining place to fill. King's Lynn promoter Dale Allett obviously listens to this podcast because he's responded to Ipswich predictions of an away win on the Premiership's opening night at the Adrian Flux Arena. The arch rivals clash on the first day, Monday, May 17th, with fans patiently waiting for ticket news. And Allett said, "There's always been a big rivalry between Ipswich and King's Lynn, and we're determined to beat them on the opening night. I've heard Chris Louis predicting a cheeky away win for his side, which is a bold statement."
It'd be great to be involved on that first day, albeit away at the arch enemies, King's Lynn. But it'd be nice to start with a nice sneaky little away win there.
Alex says, we'll see about that. I want us to beat them, and then I'll buy Chris a drink after the meeting, unless he's halfway home sulking after losing. Fighting talk in East Anglia. Let's move on to our first interview of this particular episode, and very, very exciting year for the Tigers fans. Both Sheffield and Glasgow are looking forward to welcoming Justin Sedgmen into their lineup. He's just recently landed from Australia into the UK, and Nigel Pearson has been for a chinwag with Sedgy.
Justin, back in the UK, how was the journey back across from Australia?
Yeah, it was pretty straightforward. There's a few obstacles you need to go through to get out of Australia, but, it's not, you're not going to be travelling to and from England and to Australia that easy anymore, but, it is doable, and, I'm excited to be here, so, let's just get racing.
I bet you can't wait now, with two clubs lined up for you in the UK as well, with Glasgow and Sheffield. You're a Tiger in more ways than one.
Yeah, I've actually signed in Denmark as well for the Holsted Tigers. So
in more ways than one, like I said.
And my favourite AFL team is Richmond Tigers. So yeah, it's pretty nice to have that kind of connection. It's a little bit unique, but yeah, it is nice, and I can't wait to ride for them clubs. And at the end of the day, I'm going to be wearing a Tigers jersey all the time, so I should treat them all the same.
Brilliant. Now, obviously, much is made of the fact that there was a season off last year, which is unprecedented. I mean, in our lifetime, we never thought we'd ever see something like that. But are you feeling positive now? Do you believe that we're almost there, ready to go?
Yeah, I feel positive. Obviously, you guys have still come out of lockdown, and you're working your way back into normality. So it is a little bit difficult to kind of talk to some people because they're still a little bit down. But hopefully, when they see Speedway start again, that they'll bring some positive vibes to the conversations. And I genuinely believe that we're going to have a good season. And I think if people think that way, we will.
Tell us about your summer at home, back on the bike, some meetings that you were in. Just sum it up for us.
It was good. It was good to run a few meetings. I think I did about 10 or 12 before I come here. So it was good to get that kind of racing mind back in. I was quite fortunate. I had Jason Crump. He stayed with me while he was racing at Mildura and Adelaide. And then Ryan Douglas was staying with me as well. So it was good to, have them people around, and, we're pushing each other, and it was just nice to be involved in Speedway the way it should be.
Fantastic. And as for the UK season itself, what sort of reaction do you think there'll be now from fans? Because they've been starved of Speedway. I personally feel there'll be a lot of fans. Yeah, there'll be some who will be a little bit nervous, of the older generation maybe. But I personally feel there's going to be a hell of a lot of fans who can't wait to get out there and see live Speedway. What do you think of it all?
Yeah, I think, they're excited to go to the pub. So they'll be excited to go have a pint at the Speedway, I hope.
I was talking about the general public, not just me.
No, they want to do things, and, you can't sit at home all the time and watching the tally. So, the sooner that it starts, the better. And, it might take a couple of meetings for the older generation to venture back in. But, the older generation's had their vaccine, I'm pretty sure, by now. And, just get on with it. I know it's not a nice disease and all that, but, you still got to live your life, and, we still want to put on a show for everyone.
What stage are you at in your career now, do you think, Justin? You're not a newcomer to the sport. You've been around for a decade or so now. Still got your best years ahead of you, perhaps? I
believe so. The day I think I shouldn't be riding anymore, I genuinely believe I'll stop. But I still want to be as best as I can, and whatever that involves and whatever that dives into, that's what I'm going to do. If I leave the season every year knowing that I've done the best I can with what I can, that's a bonus. But, I still have pretty big goals to fill, and I want to fill them. And I don't want to, leave the sport knowing that I didn't try my best to achieve them. But, at the moment, my two goals are to just do as well as I can and score as many points as I can for the two teams in the UK. And then whatever that brings after that for 2021 or 2022, I should say, we'll go from there. But, it's every guy's dream to be world champion. I think the day that you don't wake up thinking that, you shouldn't be riding the sport. I don't believe it's a job. I believe it's a passion, and that you should always try and strive to be the best.
It's not just a dream of being a world champion. I mean, when I was a kid, I dreamt of being a speedway rider, and I never got the chance. So whilst you're saying it's not a job, it's a passion, are there some days where you perhaps wake up and think, wow, I'm a speedway rider and I get paid for it?
Yeah, you do sometimes.
And there's other days you wake up thinking, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah, you're kind of in the mindset all the time. You wake up every day thinking about it. So you do enjoy what you do, and you also have a passion for it. But yeah, I think if you keep your mindset healthy and, always put goals in front of you, that's the best way you can, go about it. But yeah, you do pinch yourself sometimes. Like when I first woke up, when I landed in the UK, I was like, oh, I'm in the UK, I'm a speedway rider again. So that was nice. You just got to take it as it comes and do as best you can.
You must have a lot of people helping and supporting you. I mean, you've got a lot of friends over here as well. You were mentioning Jason Crump and Ryan Douglas that came and stayed with you during your summer in Australia, and obviously they're going to be over here in the I know Jason's already here and Ryan will be on the way soon. So, you've got good friends there. Do you support each other, you riders? You meet each other at the track, and you enjoy each other's company, and you support each other?
Yeah, 100%. I actually got I got a couple of phone calls off Jason since I've been here, and then obviously he's building bikes and it's a bit foreign to him at the moment because he hasn't been riding for that long, and he asked a couple of questions. I was like, man, maybe I should be asking him that, but he's asking me. So that was pretty cool. And yeah, Dougie was, he sent me a message this morning saying, how is it? And, when he's coming over. So
you replied, it's cold.
Yeah, it's been good though. It had been good.
While you were in quarantine.
Yeah. So, the day I kind of get out, it's no good. But yeah, you do support each other. I think the Aussies have a bit of a connection with each other, more so than anyone else. Probably any other country. We're not just getting on the plane to go home and to see our family and that. So we got to stick together. It's probably been said numerous and thousands of times in interviews, but it is. That's how it works, and you just always stay in contact with each other and always say hello at the track, and yeah, you got to support each other as much as you can.
As well as trying to beat them on the track. But in terms of support, it does take the backing of people, not just financially, but, moral support as well, of managers, of promoters, but sponsors as well. They're important to you. I mean, I know you have strong support from ATPI sports events, from 10 Tools. That's vital for you, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm quite lucky with sponsors in Australia, and then I have a few good sponsors over here that are very helpful. You can't take advantage of them, in saying if that's the right way to say it, but you also, you want the help from them as well. So you got to stay in contact and do the right thing. And, I'm, the sponsors I have, I'm very grateful for. And, but not only that, just coming back to the UK, Harry and Jules just said, come and do your quarantine here and get it done and get your bikes ready. So, and then Glasgow have sorted me, place to stay, and then Sheffield the same thing as well. So, it does take a lot if you're not from this country to run the network around you. I should, could kind of say it like that. It's a big operation, and it's something you're always thinking about is, what do I do next? And, where can I stay here, or how can I get help from this person? And it takes a few years to build that up. And, I'm quite fortunate that, Frankie Cox helped me a lot back in the day when I was at Swindon for a long time living there. And now this year I'm he's moved back to Sheffield, so, I can rekindle that relationship a little bit and pop in and have a coffee and, and have fun.
Well, that's excellent. Yeah, of course. The sport itself, Britain, there's been quite a winter for British Speedway with the Polish regulations now that the extra league riders can only ride for one other league, ride in one other league. Certain riders have left the league now, but they're focusing on British youngsters coming through the system. Looking at the British leagues, there's still some good riders here, Justin. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think we're all going to be pretty busy if, with the COVID situation. I think there will be a few more guest bookings available, which is cool.
Yeah, Troy Batchelor said that in Speedway Star last week, and on the podcast actually, I think he said, he's willing to step in if there's any travel issues.
Yeah, that's right, and he's right in saying that. It is a shame that it isn't so straightforward and people can get here as easy as they would like to, but it is what it is. And, like I said before, we got to follow the rules and we got to get the green light safely. So, if you're riding against one team one night, you might be riding against them the next night. So, or with them, sorry, or whatever you want to say. But, yeah, the guys that are here should really concentrate on the UK. If we get the green light to travel a little bit freely, go ahead and do what you want to do. But, I want to see, 7 riders in each team and 14 on the night. So, if we can concentrate on doing that would be good.
You like the idea of Britain focusing on British youngsters at the bottom end of a team, give them an opportunity in every Premiership and Championship club?
Yeah, it is. If you look at, your 2 Grand Prix riders, Wolfie grew up in Australia and Robert Lambert did a lot of travelling when he was younger. He spent a lot of time in Germany. So there is something missing. And I know Ian Sinderson at ATPI is trying to fill that void. But, you do want to kind of throw them in the deep end, but they also got to be ready at the same time because, they've had a couple of issues when they first sprang. I think it was the fast track system in, they were way out of their depth. And there's guys like Sliney that are involved in bringing along the youngsters, and probably should be kind of a manager type thing to say, yep, he's ready to do that, and this track would be best suited for him. I don't really know. That's just what I'm thinking right now. But, if the young kids want to be as good as they can, they should put the boots on and go for it. So it is a good idea. Obviously, you don't really want to see anyone get hurt, but, you got to throw yourself at the deep end at the same time. So we'll see how it works.
We will indeed. Just finally, Justin, I do get the vibes from you that you quite enjoy watching and listening to us on television with the Speedway. Do you have aspirations to take mine or Kelvin's job?
I'd like to. You just said your dream is to be a speed rider. Well, yeah.
Shall we swap then?
You can if you like.
Have you ever done any commentary?
I've done a little bit. I've done a little bit with the radio, and yeah, I do enjoy it. Need to get my words out a little bit better, but yeah, it is. I'm fascinated in sports. I've just been into that Super League thing the last couple of days, and just trying to find out as much knowledge as I can about things. And I listen to a lot of podcasts and listen to a lot of sporting things, and athletes in all types of sport fascinate me, and I think anyone can get a lot from them. But yeah, it's definitely something I'd like to do. It is something you need to be trained at, and yeah, let's see what we can do one day. But yeah, I would like to jump on the microphone on the TV or do the interviews in the pits. I would really enjoy doing that, because I think as a rider, it's you can give the feedback to the fans as the best way possible.
Well, let's just hope there's somebody from Eurosport listening to this then, eh, Justin? But it's been a pleasure catching up with you today. Welcome back to the UK, and look forward to seeing you doing your stuff, sliding during the summer, mate.
Yeah, thank you, and I hope everyone has a great year and sees the future bright, because I couldn't imagine what it was like being in lockdown. It's we did a little bit in Mildura, and we didn't have a COVID case since March 2020. And, we were in lockdown. Fortunately, I was able to work, but there was a lot of people that couldn't do much. And I do feel sorry for you, and hopefully we can bring some joy to some people and they can watch some Speedway and get into what normality is, I guess.
Justin Sedgmen there speaking with Nigel Pearson. The very best of luck to Justin as he lines up for the Tigers. Sheffield Tigers in the Premiership and the Glasgow Tigers in the Championship. Still to come, we're going to hear from Peter Schroeck, the team manager of King Lynn Speedway. We'll also hear from Gary Flint, co-promoter of Berwick Bandits and Berwick Bullets, who are going to be lining up for the very first meeting of the season on the 1st of May, just heading in towards this weekend at the time of recording as they face the Armadale Devils. Next, we turn our focus to Belle Vue Aces. We'll speak to local journalist and one of the programme contributors at Belle Vue, Lee Wild, next.
No brakes, no fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
Welcome along. I'm Ian Brannan. It's great to have you with us on this, the third episode. I'm not sure if we're going to keep count all the way through or not, but we're 3 weeks in now. Thank you for your support so far. One of the things that we want to do in the course of these podcasts is give a platform to the next generation of Speedway reporters, because there is a future for British Speedway. We have young reporters. Last week we spoke to Joe Appleton, who had such incredible knowledge. Now, if you want to listen back to that, bear in mind, Joe is 20 years old and has such an epic knowledge of Speedway, the riders, who's where, what's going on at all the clubs. It's incredible. And right now we're going to speak to another of the next generation of Speedway reporters. And he is Lee Wild, who works for the Tameside Reporter in Manchester. And also you'll hear him on Tameside Radio around Manchester as well. And he's a contributor to the Belle Vue Aces programme too. And we're going to chat to him right now and welcome him along to the podcast. Hi, Lee. Welcome.
Yeah, great to be here. I've been listening to the first podcast with great interest, so looking forward to this.
Now you're part of it, and it's great to have you along. And we're going to have a bit of a focus on Belle Vue, and obviously that's the team that you're most involved in, the team that you report on and keep a closest eye on. First of all, for people who don't know who you are, that you are obviously, as you mentioned there, a multimedia journalist and reporter, but you have an interest in Speedway. And where did your Speedway journey begin?
You'll like this one, being a fellow radio person. I first heard of Belle Vue when I was 5 years old on the old Piccadilly radio. I heard an advert and I begged my mum to take me, and she finally cracked. And wow. I think it's been 22 years now, so that was a costly mistake.
People say radio advertising doesn't work, you see, and there it is.
I'm proof. Let's get Speedway back on the radio.
Yeah, well, listen, we are working on it. Watch this space, especially people in Manchester. But yeah, great way to get involved. And you went along, you listened to the advert, and you went along to Belle Vue, and obviously that wouldn't have been the Hyde Road days, would it? That will be
no, that was Kirkmanshire Lane, yeah, which sadly started to be demolished this week, unfortunately. But that was where my Speedway love began. I remember my first ever meeting. It was against the Peterborough Panthers, and Ronnie Corrie broke the track record, a name from the past.
The Rocket Ronnie Corrie.
Yeah,
good times.
Fantastic.
Wow, so you're there for the track record being broken. And then as you went towards being a sports reporter, I suppose then Speedway was at the forefront of your mind and something that you wanted to keep an eye on and reflect in wherever you worked.
Yeah, it's interesting, really. I never trained as a sports reporter. I'm a news journalist in my day job. I do a bit for Belle Vue and a bit for the programme and things like that. And it's just sort of, it's found me really. I actually got involved in Belle Vue because I did a great local story for where I work on a fella in Oldham that had built an amazing replica model of the old Hyde Road. It was fantastic. And I put that online. That got a great response in the Belle Vue community. And someone got in touch who edited the programme at the time before it's changed hands and asked me to come along and write for him. And that was 3 or 4 years ago now.
What sort of things do you cover in the programme then when you're writing?
I tend to preview the away team, so I don't profess to have an encyclopedic knowledge of everything that's going on, but I tend to pay attention, see what's going on around the league. So I do the away team previews and also usually pick out a talking point for something that's been in the week, for a column, whether that's wider things, what Belle Vue have been up to, what's been happening on the international scene. I get a bit of free rein. It's quite a lot of fun, really.
Yeah, good stuff. And I think programme writing is an art in itself. Being involved in programmes is an art in itself. A lot of people collect them, of course, and they are so much more than just a race card. There's a lot of work goes in there. I know Nigel Pearson heavily involved in programmes and loves programmes as well. And they are a different publication, but often a memento as well for certain fixtures, aren't they?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, in Speedway, we're quite lucky because pretty much everyone that comes to a game buys a programme. You see in football and other sports like that, the programme's sort of dying out, but in Speedway, it's got the race card. And I think the fans of Speedway really appreciate a physical programme to look through, because obviously in Speedway, we have breaks between races, don't we? You need something else that's going on. I think the programme's a crucial part of that.
Yeah, absolutely right. Well, looking ahead to this season then, obviously it's been a long, long time since we've had a proper season, and Belle Vue did get a little bit of action around the track last year, but focusing on this year, what's exciting you about the Belle Vue team so far?
I think Mark Lemon's put together a really strong team. It looks good. I think we're the favourites, but I think Sheffield are right up there with us. Looking back to I thought the same last year because, we had Jamin Lidsey that was going to start a reserve, and that's a huge loss, unfortunately, because we can see what he's doing in Poland. I know he's not the best start, but he's undoubtedly talented and he'll go a long way in this sport. But I think he's made some good signings. Brady Kurtz, absolutely fantastic rider. We've seen him punish us with Poole when they were in the top league. I was at the ATP All-Stars meet. I was commentating on that, and it took him a little bit of time to find his feet, but by the end he was so fast. He was challenging Dan Bewley for the top times. Really, really good.
The main question mark, I think, with Belle Vue, and this goes for a few clubs as well, are those riders that are largely riding in Europe much of the week, in Poland or Sweden, and looking to factor in Britain alongside their plans. And for Belle Vue, of course, Brady Kurtz and Dan Bewley are the two riders there, and we hope that they'll be able to get in and out of the country as they hope. Obviously, it's going to be more complicated than it normally would be, but there are those issues, and there's still no real confirmation of exactly how that world is going to look just yet.
No, at the moment, I think it's very much touch wood, isn't it? Like you say, the way things stand now, I think we should be okay. I don't know what's going to be the rules around testing or things like that, but they can certainly fly back and forth at the moment. Whether that continues as whatever happens, new variants, we've seen that over the past few months. Fingers crossed, because we'd lose our top two guys. Dan Bewley's undoubtedly pretty much the most important rider to Belle Vue. He's been absolutely fantastic. I've been loving watching him in Poland. I saw he had some great scores for Wrocław in the first week of the season. I know he tailed off a little bit for the away match, but they're crucially important. If you lose your top two riders, where do we go from there?
There was an interesting piece in the Speedway Star last week which covered this topic really of what may or may not happen, and there are still a few unknowns, and those discussions are probably ongoing right now as we speak. But Mark Lemon did make the point that testing is a key thing that's going to be happening quite a lot, and there are also calls really for the costs of those tests to perhaps be covered by the clubs rather than the riders themselves.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know the finances involved in Speedway, obviously, but I don't think any of our clubs would be happy with paying £200 per rider for each meeting that they have to fly back into the UK. I don't think the riders would be happy paying that either. And I know there's a lot of money in Polish Speedway, but I don't think they'd be happy paying that either. So where does this come from? And I think we need clarification on the rules, don't we? If this is going to be something that's going to impact us throughout the season, I think it needs to be decided now rather than later.
Absolutely. And looking to Belle Vue, of course, being one of the first teams to see any action with fans in the stadium on the day where restrictions are due to be lifted on the 17th of May. Belle Vue versus Sheffield. We've also got King Lynn versus Ipswich that day, and the Thank You NHS Trophy at Wolverhampton the same day as well. But I think all eyes are going to be firmly on the National Speedway Stadium as the tapes go up on the season. And Speedway could be one of the first of any sports to have paying fans back in pretty much as normal, if you like, without it being a test event. And that's going to be exciting for Speedway in general, particularly Belle Vue, but Speedway in general.
Yeah, it's huge, isn't it? I mean, it's a great chance to get Speedway back into the national limelight. If we're one of the first sports back, there's going to be a lot more eyes on us, people seeing to if we can do things right, and hopefully we can show, the professional side, and we'll get people wanting to engage with Speedway again. That'd be fantastic. People have been starved of live entertainment, of live sports for the past year, hopefully will be rewarded for taking a chance and, coming to the tapes with people coming through the turnstiles.
Before we look at the Belle Vue team, let's have a look at the away team, because that's your job with the programme. You preview the away team. So let's have a look at the first one up for the Aces then. They're going to be facing Sheffield, who we've already mentioned, really, really strong side.
Yeah, I don't want to cast my vote too soon, so to speak, until we've seen them on track. But you look at that line, I was looking forward to it last year, seeing Nicky Pedersen back in British Speedway. That was going to be amazing. But I think Simon Stead's done a fantastic job at Sheffield of putting together, a strong team, certainly all the way through. You've only got to look at Josh Bates, the rising star at reserve. That's going to be amazing. And I mean, I report on Belle Vue, but I only live sort of 45 minutes from the Sheffield track. So over the years, I've been to Alderton plenty of times, many events, and it's a great setup there. I love going there. I can't wait to visit there as an away fan with Belle Vue.
Yeah, and that is the thing, isn't it? We've been waiting a long time to see Sheffield in this league. And as you mentioned, last year they had this, an amazing team, really. And Nicky Pedersen, everybody was, looking forward to seeing Nicky Pedersen and Jason Crump, of course, clashing once again. It's not going to happen. But, of course, looking further down the fixture list, you will see Jason Crump back round the National Speedway Stadium again at some point this year.
I'm so jealous he's an Ipswich rider, I'll be honest. It's a Belle Vue fan. He was my hero growing up. We went to Bydgoszcz when I'd have been 13 in 2006 to watch him win his title. It was absolutely amazing. Going over there, seeing Polish Speedway for the first time, unbelievable. So I'm so glad Jason Crump's back in British Speedway. I just wish it was with an ace on his vest. It was interesting actually that his first meeting back in British Speedway was for Belle Vue. Obviously, when we ran the ATPI All-Stars event last year, it was great to see him back around the track, and he's not lost it. He's still got it.
Let's look round the rest of the Aces lineup then. We've already touched on Brady Kurtz and Dan Bewley. We know a lot about those, and we know what they're going to bring to the Aces side if all things are equal. Beyond that, though, still a very, very strong Aces team. We've got the Worrell brothers and a former British champion in the ranks as well. So there's quite a lot of strength in depth through this Aces team.
Yeah, it's not bad, is it? He's done a great job, Mark Lemons. So I think it's going to be a fantastic season. You only got to look at Steve Worrell. He had that bad injury, didn't he, a couple of years ago that really set him back, I think. But before that, for Belle Vue, he was absolutely flying. So hopefully this year off, we saw him at the end of last year and he looked relatively back to his old self. So I'm hoping this year he'll be fantastic once again. His brother, Richie Worrell. Now, Richie's an interesting case because as many Belle Vue fans will probably have known, and as many said when he was announced, he struggled around the National Speedway Stadium a few times over the years, and he'll freely admit himself that maybe it's not been his favourite track. But it's interesting, I spoke to him after the British final, and he said next year was going to be his year. He was stepping back from his business, which has been a big part of his life, and he was putting his all into Speedway, which I thought was quite brave to do, especially in the middle of a pandemic. Quite a brave thing to do, but I think he's going to be a trump card. I think he can be a dark horse. He mentioned when he signed that he was looking to lose quite a bit of weight. Now, if you know Richie Worrell, he's not a big guy, so to speak, but he is very muscular, which he thinks has sort of held him back around the National Speedway Stadium, where a lot of riders say you need to be lightweight. And we've seen it sort of in his races. He pops out the gate of the National Speedway Stadium, no problem, lead for a couple of laps, and then the rest will catch him up and go by. So I think this year, with a renewed focus on Speedway and lost a couple of kilos, I think he'll be a fantastic one to watch.
We hear a lot about weight of Speedway riders, and that is certainly for those riders that are racing in Poland, it is a key difference now, isn't it? Getting under a certain weight and getting down to the minimum that you can be, but the healthiest you can be.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad I'm not a Speedway rider because I think I'd struggle with that. But a lot of them, I mean, you've only got to look at how slight some of them are. I remember seeing Jason Doyle, when he was winning his world title, and he was really skinny, but obviously that's what you need to be at the top level of this, of this sport now. You look at some of the other riders that we've got. So you look at Charles Wright, he's finally going to get to make his debut now for his hometown club. We've had his brother over the past years, haven't we? But Charles is finally going to step into the Aces Kevlars this year. And I think we all hope that he can recreate the form that saw him win the British final. What a night that was for him. And I'm really looking forward to see how he does, because I think he'll give us something away from home as well. We all know how good he is at the National Speedway Stadium, but he's done a lot of years in this league now, and he'll be familiar with a lot of the tracks. So that's going to be very important.
And interesting, you mentioned Charles Wright there, because the first meeting of the year, Belle Vue, Sheffield, his brother James Wright will be lining up for Sheffield.
That's going to be great, isn't it? I mean, we're used to watching Steve and Richie Worrell race. Now we're going to watch James and Charles. That's going to be fantastic. And I think it'll be interesting to see because Belle Vue have got a very strong top five, but when you look at who we've picked at reserve, I think there could be some movement there, because you've got Jai Etheridge, who is another rider that's fantastic around the National Speedway Stadium. We've seen him in the Aces Kevlars before, a very good rider. Maybe it was his away form that let him down last time. He's had a couple more years to develop now, and I'm really looking forward to see how he does, because he's always exciting. He can be worth the admission money on his own sometimes, and that's going to be fantastic around the National Speedway Stadium. Away from home, let's see how he does. But I think Mark Lemon's played a very clever card here with his choice of Rising Star, because you look at Tom Brennan, who's more traditionally focused on the smaller tracks. We know how good he's around Eastbourne. So I think he'll be a trump card away from home.
It is going to be interesting this year with 6 teams in the league. It's made places harder to come by for the riders, but for the promoters, it's given them a greater choice of who to put into those sides. And it will be interesting to see whether youth or experience wins out in the end.
Definitely. Like you say, I think it'll be a very close season. A lot of the teams look strong. No one's really built a bad team. Like you say, with only 6 clubs running, it's been they've had the choice of who to pick, shall we say. They've built the team they want. They've not had to compromise anywhere.
And we should mention as well, there's extra opportunities for the youth to get experience this season, with both the Belle Vue Colts returning in the National Development League and the Premiership Junior League, which is going to be taking place after the main fixtures, the old second halves of the juniors returning. So extra chances to get some track time for the youngsters there as well.
Yeah, I think it's really exciting to see. I know at Belle Vue, they've placed quite a lot of emphasis on youth development. They've had the Colts for the past few years. That's been fantastic. Mark Lemon obviously involved with bringing the Rising Star programme and things like that. I can't wait to see it. I'm interested to see what sort of riders we pick up, who we put out there. I mean, over the last season that we ran, Belle Vue had the Academy Series, which took a similar, after meeting a couple of riders from the local area, battling it out. And that was fantastic. And it was great to see so many people stay behind and watch that. These riders are riding in front of full grandstands. It's great. It's free speedway. What's not to like?
I've always enjoyed that bit after the main part of the meeting, where you're just getting a little bit of a beer and you're just chilling out without the stress of the meeting, perhaps, and watching some of the future riders go round and spotting those that you think, you can definitely tell have got the style to make it big, or maybe see them progress from those junior meetings into the main body of the team over the course of a year or two. It's always a great experience.
Yeah, you're right there. I mean, like you say, catch up with friends. But I remember seeing riders like, Kyle Howard going to go around the old Belle Vue in times gone by, and they progressed into the Colts. And then obviously now Kyle's cleaning up around British Speedway, isn't he? He's fantastic. He's settled in Sheffield. He was great for Wolves. He used to bite us every time we'd go to Wolves. He always put on a performance for Belle Vue.
One of the riders I remember seeing in the second halves when I was at Bradford was Andre Compton. I think it was the day of his 16th birthday. He was out there practicing in these junior meetings, and his brother Benji Compton is he's somehow back with the Colts.
I think I've seen Benji Compton more recently riding a superbike around Alton Park than I have riding a speedway bike. I know his brother Dijon does quite a lot of the road racing as well. So yeah. I can't wait to see him back. I remember Andre Compton blasting around Sheffield. I remember Benji up and down the country. I think he rode for Poole by the end, didn't he? I'm excited to see what he brings to the Colts. He's done it all. He's been everywhere. And Belle Vue have got quite a young team, so I think it's important that they've got riders like him to show them the way and, guide them a little bit.
I think it is. It was an interesting signing, and probably took quite a few people by surprise that he would come back to the Colts. But as you say, when we got a young side, it's probably not a bad move to have a bit of experience in and among that.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, Stephen Graham are great when they build the side for the Colts. They're not building a team to win the league. They're building a team to develop these riders. Obviously, it's nice to win the league. It's nice to win meetings, but they always say what they want to do is develop riders for the future. And I think we're seeing that, obviously Dan Bewley came through the Colts, but I don't think we could take too much credit for that. He's such an expert motorcyclist that he was always going to be fantastic. But we've seen Kyle Bickley, ride for the Colts 3-4 years. He's really come on. Leon Flint's done well. And we're seeing now, like Harry and Sam McGurk. That's really exciting. I know as a Bradford fan, you'll be keeping a special eye on them.
Yeah, we had Sam McGurk on this podcast last week, and we've also done an interview with Harry McGurk, and in it he says really that, you know, he would love, having seen the track now laid out, he would love to get to have a ride around there. And quite encouraging news actually this week, Steve Rees, the promoter behind the revival of the stock cars at Odsall, and the man who's been the driving force behind getting the track back in there, has spoken about Speedway this last week in a post on Facebook. He said that Speedway is firmly part of the plans for the future. Obviously, the economic climate not very agreeable at the moment, but looking ahead to next year, then fingers crossed, there may be some Speedway bikes roaring round Odsall again. And the McGurks, it would be great for them, wouldn't it, to get to have a ride on their home track? No disrespect to Belle Vue, of course.
It'd be great. What a way to launch the Bradford team. That would, you know, two local lads. I think it'd be fantastic. I've been looking at the pictures on Twitter, and God, I just want to see Speedway bikes around there. I think it'd be absolutely amazing. What a track.
It does bring back so many memories, though, and it was always sad. I mean, for me, I used to go pretty much every week for the entire time that it was at Bradford, and I originally used to go to Halifax, and then, you know, I remember a number of years later, I went to a Bradford Bulls game, and just to see the stadium looking as it did, no track in there, it just looked rubbish with the best will in the world, and you know, just not how you remember it. And when you've been to World Finals there and stuff like that, and you think of all the great events that there's been where the stadium was absolutely packed to the rafters, that you know, you want to see those days back. And I think for the first time, even when you've probably written the thought off in your mind that it would ever happen, I think for the first time there is actually a clear path between, you know, maybe those days could well return.
I'm right there with you, because obviously we've got the National Speedway Stadium at Belle Vue, and I'll be honest, I never thought that would happen. We went to the meeting maybe 10 years ago now where they said, this is the plan, you know, keep the faith, it's going to happen. But there were times where I never thought it'd happen, and I really hope we get Speedway back at Bradford, just because what a venue it'll be. I don't want to age you too much, Ian, but I was never alive. I've never seen bikes or cars round Bradford, but you know, you look at the photos of the World Finals when it was absolutely packed. What a string to British Speedway's bow it would be to have another venue of that quality.
Time will tell. Well, thanks a lot for joining us, Lee. It's been great catching up with you, and hopefully speak to you again later in the season.
Absolutely look forward to catching up with you again, and I'm looking forward to getting back trackside, and hope everyone else is as well. My
thanks to Lee Wild, local journalist in Manchester and one of the contributors to the Belle Vue Aces programme. On the way, we're going to hear from a couple of the bosses. We'll hear from Peter Schroeck, the team manager at King Lynn Speedway, on his expectations for the season ahead and his excitement at seeing Lewis Bridger back on a bike. And as we head towards the very first official British Speedway fixture of the 2021 season, the Berwick Bullets taking on the Armadale Devils, we'll hear from Berwick co-promoter Gary Flint very soon here on No Brakes, No Fear, the official British Speedway podcast.
No Brakes, No Fear, the official British Speedway podcast.
Welcome along. Every week through the Speedway season, we will bring you a new episode every Tuesday, keeping you up to date with all that's happening around British Speedway. And as the season gets going, we'll have reaction from the big meetings on the Monday, and we'll be having previews to the fixtures that are coming up each week. And our very first fixture in the British Speedway calendar happens this week. 1st of May, the season starts, albeit behind closed doors. In the National Development League, the Berwick Bullets take on the Armadale Devils at Shieldfield Park in what is the first official fixture on the calendar. And we've been catching up with the co-promoter at Berwick, Gary Flint. He's been speaking with Ryan Guest.
Well, Gary, the wait is almost over. How does it feel to be staging the first fixture of the 2021 British Speedway season?
Oh, it's fantastic. It's great for the club. It's great for us with the new team, the Bullets, and it's great for British Speedway on a whole. It's getting close to being very exciting times for Speedway in the country. So, yeah, it's a massive privilege and honour for us to be hosting that.
It's a tasty fixture to get things up and running as well, with plenty of northern talent on display and some interesting head-to-heads right down the lineups as well, I think is fair to say.
Yeah, that's right. It being a local derby as well is, always adds a little extra bit of spice. And there's going to be 14 lads, I'm sure, that are keen to impress, knowing that pretty much the whole Speedway fan base in the country are going to be following it.
It's a fixture featuring two clubs who are more or less operating an academy system as well, and I know you feel that this now provides riders with a clear pathway for progression within the club.
Yeah, that's right. One of our major stances since the Courtney took over was progression, whether that be changing the track or doing certain things around the stadium. But we felt it was time to build on the academy that we started in 2017 with the Northern Junior League and take that to the next level. And it's an exciting time for us, and we're all excited to see how it all pans out for the club and watch the boys progress.
The one shame for this weekend, I guess, is that the current restrictions mean it will be behind closed doors. You'll be one of the fortunate people to be there watching the action live, but how can supporters follow the action from the comfort of their own homes?
Yeah, we'll be putting heat results out on our social media feeds. Certainly keep your eye on the Bandit social media feeds, and you'll be able to follow all that.
Well, Gary, we wish you and everyone at Berwick all the best for Saturday evening.
The first fixture on the Speedway calendar for 2021 in Britain. It's Berwick Bullets versus the Armadale Devils. Find out all the results and keep up to date with everything that happens with your team, whoever you support, online at speedwaygb.co.uk. Right now, turning our attention to the King Lynn Stars. We've been catching up with the team manager, Peter Schroeck, who was at one of the training sessions just a couple of weeks ago at Redcar, who is venturing a little bit further north than he normally would. And he's been speaking to Robin Allen, and he's ready for the season to get underway.
100%, yeah. It's everybody's sort of buzzing now, and there was a few faces here today as well. Sam Masters is out there practicing, and I've been up here with young Sam Hagan, who's signed for Middleton All Tigers, and so we're having a good time, and getting into the swing of it again.
Now, it's great to see a lot of youth riders out here at Redcar, and of course we've got the Rising Star system, and then we've got the Premiership Junior League. Yeah, exactly. It's so it is phenomenal. Really. I mean, it's the first time sort of we don't come up here very often, sort of thing. So you see a lot of kits which I've never seen before, and they have got a very healthy youth scene up here as well, and up north. So yeah, it was really good fun to see them all today. Now, with your Kings Lynn team manager hat on, how pleased are you to see the boys getting some track time, whether it's in the UK or is abroad? Yeah, of course, it's important, sort of thing, so everybody gets back into the swing of it. And, I know they're all looking forward to it because it's been a long few months, sort of for everyone. And, and I do think we've got a very, very good chance, probably out of Europe, we've probably got the best chance of having a proper league season. So, and obviously with us, with the two levels of at the professional level I'm talking about, there's a good chance we're having 50, between 50-60 meetings, which is, could be great. Now, of course, you're looking at Thomas Jorgensen, and he was at Scunthorpe the other day, and he spent 5 hours around there practicing and all that. So how pleased are you to see boys that are being that dedicated, that they're spending that amount of hours at the track? It just shows you. I mean, they had to go to work for a living for God knows how long. So suddenly now they're racing Speedway again. It just shows you, that's all these boys want to do. So to be 5 hours at a track, getting everything dialed in and one thing and another, shows you the dedication of them. And I know Thomas is, he's very dedicated to the sport, super fit. And I must say they've all been keeping really, really fit over the winter and during the close season. So we should be in for a good season. And then I've seen that Lewis Bridger had been at Peter John's to pick up a new engine. So for him, it's great because he's getting all his kit back together and ready for his company. Yeah, I mean he's really. I mean you have to take your hat off. Where the boy comes from. He should be really at a bodybuilding. He should have been at a bodybuilding competition, and he's lost all that weight, and and to do that, it just shows you the determination what he wants to do. So we all know what he's capable of. It's been a long time since he's been gone, but when you're natural like these, like he is, there is a few riders which are pure natural riders, and he's one of them. I haven't got much doubt that he's going to find his feet pretty quick. Now you look at Ryan Kinsley, he had his first practice of the year at Scunthorpe yesterday, and from talking to him, he felt really good on the bikes. It's great news ahead of the new season.
Yeah, 100%. You know, Ryan is going to slot in. You know, there's no pressure on Ryan. You know, we just want him to realise how, you know, that it's all he needs to realise. That's a hell of an opportunity for him, but it doesn't mean that he has to override it. You know, I just want him to enjoy it, and do his job. You know, we don't expect straight away big points. We just want him to be in the game and learn along the way. And I'm sure within the next couple of years we're going to have a complete different Ryan Kinsley to what we've got now.
Peter Schroeck, thank you very much.
Yeah, the Kings Lynn team manager Peter Schroeck there speaking with Robin Allen. And on next week's episode, more for Kings Lynn fans. We'll be hearing from Lewis Kerr, who's going to be captaining both Kings Lynn Stars and the Eastbourne Eagles as we head in towards the 2021 season. So he'll be on next week's episode. And also on next week's episode, I'll be joined by Phil Lanning, who is the son of the best Speedway commentator ever, Dave Lanning, but a national journalist in his own right. He's got lots to say about Speedway, and he's also got the next generation of Lannings involved in the sport too, with his son Taylor, who's a brilliant Speedway photographer. So we're looking forward to chatting with Phil Lanning on next week's episode. And this podcast is proud to be one of the premier podcasts on the Sports Social Podcast Network. Lots more to check out after you've finished listening to our episodes. Of course, you can have a listen to the Snooker Scene podcast, or how about the brand new Gavin Hamilton's Euros Road Trip, if you want to get yourself in the mood for the European Championships in the world of football that are coming up very soon. Check those out at sport-social.co.uk and discover your next favourite podcast. For all the latest on Speedway, keep up to date with speedwaygb.co.uk. All the best to everyone at Berwick for the first official British Speedway fixture of this season on the 1st of May. And we'll catch you next Tuesday for the next episode of No Breaks, No Fear. This podcast is produced by Nigel Pearson Media Limited for British Speedway. Take care. See you next week.
No Breaks, No Fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Sports Social Podcast Network.